Ghost Trick Phantom Detective is Capcom's newest release onto the Nintendo Switch, and a full-on remaster of the original DS game that released almost 13 years ago by now. Being that it released on a handheld that had two screens, one of my main concerns going into this review were how they would make it work with just one screen. Then the question of does it actually hold up after all these years, and lastly, what extra goodies are included. Since I spent most of my time playing this on the Nintendo Switch Lite, I would like to thank Capcom for providing me the footage you're seeing today. But do keep in mind that it's only on the very first few encounters of the game, and you won't be spoiled in any way. With that said, the first thing that I want to tackle is performance, which is to say is basically flawless. This being a remaster of a DS game, you wouldn't expect any sort of frame rate issues, and I'm glad to report that there's little to report in that regard. The game runs smoothly and it shines bright in both the Nintendo Switch Lite, but even more so on the Nintendo Switch OLED. Touch controls help the experience greatly in my view, since you can do the ghost jump or the ghost trick ability relatively quickly, and that was my main reason to stick with the Switch Lite. Also, the text and handheld mode is just right, so for those wondering if it's too small or if it's too big, fear not. Story-wise, you're playing as Sissel, a detective who's still alive while his body isn't. So with the help of Ray, he gains the power to possess or trick objects by simply activating them. This makes people or animals, in the case of Missile just to name a few, react to just what just took place. So basically something that seems out of nowhere being turned off or basically moving causes an instant reaction by those people alive. All of the scenarios happen in real time, so while you're moving from object to object, it is a limited time focus, but figuring out which one to activate first and trigger an event is pretty much your main priority. The characters in which are actively alive will continually conversate and move around, and of course even try to escape their own death. So it's on to you to figure out the proper process to keep them alive and keep the story going. This is crucial since, well, otherwise Sissel will never be able to figure out how or why he died. This actually works as a pretty interesting setup for the game's story and something that should keep you going. But if that doesn't quite do it for you, the characters certainly will. This being a game from one of the creators of Ace Attorney, you know that each one of the characters are brimming with personality and charm. So even if for their own reason for staying alive or the story doesn't quite do it for you, the next character might. One of the things that could make players a bit worried is if you fail the timer and you can't figure out the proper chain of events, you could potentially fail. The good thing is that you can essentially do this over and over again as many times as you need to within that same time parameter to eventually get the proper results. And I'm pretty grateful for that, since there were a few moments that I got stuck and I wasn't necessarily sure as to what to do. Helping that along is the fact that the UI is relatively intuitive enough and it has been fully reworked since the DS days, so it's become more clever in usage and it lets players' eyes guide themselves into the next proper step. One of the things that I will shout out are the character animations as well. Mind you, they're not groundbreaking, but each one of them looks unique in their own way and is something that certainly stands out, just kind of like the music. Thankfully, one of those many extras is a music player, so you can listen to so many of the tracks that the game throws at you, and they all pretty much hit hard and you can listen to them at your own whim. On top of that, you have an art gallery to see a ton of developer work and character designs that pretty much go over relatively well, which pretty much add to the many additions for this neat package. Ghost Trick Phantom Detective is an almost flawlessly crafted remaster from the DS era that now works well with just one screen. Plenty of extra goodies have been added, and if you're playing the game for the first time but also played it originally back all those years ago, the game will still hold up to today's standards, as it's such a unique experience on its own. I certainly hope Capcom uses this as a springboard to launch a brand new title in the future, and I would also like to thank them for providing me this review copy. Nintendo Sphere gives Ghost Trick Phantom Detective on the Nintendo Switch an 8 out of 10. If you're brand new to my channel, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, hit the bell to receive notifications when the videos go up, and as always, thank you so much for watching. See ya!